Thank you ever so much. Thank you for the opportunity to present to you. As you rightly say, I've done this more times than I wish. So hang on while I get my slides up. Excellent. I feel really privileged actually to follow on from Holly because everything that she brought to your attention essentially is something that's paramount to where Darktrace began and why we're doing what we're doing, essentially. So my name's Bea. I work in the North and I have been at Darktrace for a number of years now. Briefly just want to touch on how very quickly we've grown. It's been a huge take-up in artificial intelligence as technology and machine learning, very much because of what Holly's just said. It's almost impossible to keep up with the changes in networks. Networks have evolved. We're using virtual infrastructure, industrial control systems, cloud virtual supply. So as the networks have evolved, the threats that we're seeing within networks have obviously evolved. They've changed. We're seeing new things. But again, we've still got the old ones residual in the background that people are sometimes forgetting about. One big thing that is a threat to networks is us, as humans. We're open to forgetting things. We're open to error. So, cybersecurity on the whole is formatted by rules and signatures. So essentially you're only as good as your own knowledge. So you can defend against something once somebody else has seen it and it's thrown all over the news. So you've got that intelligence to actually sit down with the board, panic and say, we need to do X. You're constantly behind the curve. Legacy controls are being outpaced daily simply because we can't keep up with what we're seeing. Ransomware, again, it's been around a long, long time, but if it hits a network, it moves so quickly. It's literally a case of limiting, damage control rather than making sure that it doesn't actually enter the network. It's also not just data breaches we're seeing anymore. So people are actually using artificial intelligence to infiltrate networks. So, they're not going in like ransomware, which is essentially me just throwing the chairs around in this room. It's very noisy, very clunky. They're using artificial intelligence to be quiet, to move laterally around networks, take data. They say that these types of attacks can reside in a network for over 200 days, which is pretty scary, the amount of data that can be collated over that time, and then they can just take it out, and it's not until something draws your attention to that it actually becomes noticeable to you. Trust attacks as well. We say malicious and non-malicious because at the end of the day, everybody has a day when they may open an email that they don't actually sanity check before. Again, we're humans. We sometimes go into work very tired. You open something without actually looking at the email address and seeing whether is that my CEO or is it somebody just impersonating them. And once you've done that, what next? You don't have the visibility to see what that's doing in your network, what kind of chaos that's causing in the background. And at that point, it's when integrity of data is at risk. Because if somebody is in the network, they are moving around and collating things, they can be changing data over a long period of time. And at what point did that begin? The product that we have at Darktrace, it's the enterprise immune system. The reason being, our own human immune systems don't need rules and signatures to know what's bad within the body. It essentially has an understanding of self. It baselines who you are as a person, what makes you up, and defends against things that shouldn't be there. It acts very, very quickly, and it's not something that you need to consistently update. Darktrace works in a very similar way. So we sit in the core of a network. We look at the raw network data, and essentially we baseline what's happening within that network. Because security is important to every single company, but not one meeting have I had where it's the same things that they're worried about, because networks change, people change, the job descriptions change, so the threats that they're worried about the most is obviously different. So Darktrace will baseline this activity and pick up on any anomalous activity happening within that. That could be ransomware, but that could also be somebody that's accessing a database file that shouldn't be, they shouldn't be accessing. It might be easier to open these things up so that everybody has accessibility, and you just hope that the people authorized to use it are the only ones that do it. But sometimes people take shortcuts. Sometimes someone will make a phone call, say, can you just access X for me? And have all that data at their fingertips. So it's about knowing when this activity happens in real time and being able to take the action necessary to prevent it. So the enterprise immune system learns self in real time. It does this with maths and machine learning. Essentially, the mathematical models that we create we call them patterns of life, because essentially they are that. It's what time you're logging on in the morning. What do you typically do on a day-to-day basis? Darktrace understands you to the point at which it can almost predict what you're going to do next. And again, it does this in real time. It detects this for users, devices, and the network as a whole. So we're able to pull out different devices within the network and different users and have a pattern for those. Detecting threats of all types. So we're not just saying, look, we're going to stop ransomware, we're going to stop phishing attacks. What we're saying is we're going to tell you about anomalous activity. We don't want to put a label on what that anomalous activity is, because what is anomalous this week will change next week. So we're wanting to let you know about the weird activity happening within your network as soon as it's happening. We do this by giving you 100% visibility. So on the left-hand side there, we've got our user interface, which is essentially Darktrace's GUI, where the results of the math and machine learning come through. If you pop over to our desk, we can go into a bit more detail, because I appreciate time's of the essence, but we can do a little tour around that, because outside of security, there's so many different benefits to having so much visibility in the network, being able to see bottlenecks, being able to see how a domain controller is functioning on the network, being able to see servers that you thought you decommissioned 6 months ago that are actually still live in the system working. There's a lot of additional benefits to having this type of technology within a network. Darktrace is completely scalable. I'll just skip to another slide to highlight this. We don't just focus on a certain vertical or type and size of company. So, as I said, security is important to everybody. And at Darktrace, we have the ability to very quickly sit within any organization. Installation typically takes no more than 1 hour. So it's, again, very quick to scale up and scale back. In addition to the enterprise immune system, we have, which is the detection part of Darktrace, looking at the network and understanding what's happening that's anomalous. And we also have the response. So the ability to go in and automatically isolate and cut sessions in real time. So Antigena works essentially by taking the information provided by the enterprise immune system to say this activity is weird, and then say, right, okay, this is the action I'm going to take. So it's machines fighting back, essentially, giving you the ability to have comfort in the fact that when ransomware, for example, is in the network, it will be isolated in real time and doesn't have the ability to move around. We have an array of customer testimonials that I'm more than willing to discuss with you. We work very closely with our clients, whom in a lot of cases will actually do this part of the job for me. But again, if there's any names on there that you're interested in, by all means, pop over to our desk and have a conversation with us. I'd really like to take questions, because this type of technology does tend to instigate quite a lot of queries. So while we've still got time...
You've got a couple of minutes for questions, but you can also see Bea on the Darktrace stand in the exhibition hall. Questions? You let off the hook. See you on the stand.
Excellent.
Bea, thank you very much indeed.
You're very welcome. Thank you.